Simultaneously.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're good.
We are live to proceed.
I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting on August 11th, 2021. We are now in session. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, for those of you that are watching us online. Before adjourning to closed session, the board will identify the closed session items and accept public comment on these items.
Sarah, we need to,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay, establish a quorum.
Sorry. But before we do all of that, I'd like to call the meeting to order and establish a quorum.
Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nachbar.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Here. Yes.
Yes. May I please receive a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda?
And a second?
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nachbar.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Okay, we'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. And since this is our first in-person meeting with Mr. Ted Knight, we'll have you do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Now, before adjourning to closed session, the board will identify the closed session items and accept public comment on these items. It doesn't look like we have any attendees, so therefore we will forego any public comment. But there is closed session agenda item A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaints pursuant to Government Code 54957, subdivision B1. And with that, we will adjourn into closed and see you back here at 5:30. Thank you.
Hey, folks in the audience, just to let you know, the board will need at least 5 more minutes for closed session, and then they'll return. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Education regular meeting, August 11th, 2021. The board has just come out of closed session where we addressed agenda item 2A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaints pursuant to Government Code 54957, subdivision B1. In closed session, the board provided directions and parameters in regards to item 2A on the closed session agenda. And with that, we'll reconvene to the open session agenda. And I'd like to let our audience know that this session is being recorded and broadcast via YouTube. So we thank all of you who are joining us in that manner. And first and foremost, I would like to let everybody know that the board is excited that we've returned to in-person board meetings for the first time in nearly 18 months. The last in-person board meeting we had was March 11th, 2020. So let that sink in. We are excited that we can move back to in-person meetings and discussion that were the standard prior to the pandemic. So we welcome the public to come join us in person. We will continue to live stream the meetings so members of the community may watch the meeting on the district's YouTube channel. As was the situation pre-pandemic, members of the public may provide comment to the board in person during board meetings, or any of you are always welcome to reach out to the board members between meetings with any input. We look forward again to doing the district's business and interacting with our community members in person. So with that, we will get to our board business. Right now, I don't believe there's any members of the public. Are there any members of the public in attendance? So how do we want to handle public comment, Tricia?
You can just call for public comment now and just do the same and then say there's none.
Okay, okay. Oh, okay. So we'll move on to agenda item 3C. This is public comment on non-agendized items and reports. If there is anybody here who is wishing to address the board on agenda items within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or regarding reports under item 3D may do so at this time.
If there's anyone wishing to make a comment on this item, you can step up to the podium and let us know. Seeing none.
Great, thank you. Agenda item 3D. We'll hear this evening from our new student representative, which we are so excited to have with us. Welcome. We'll also hear from ACT, CSCA. We'll do a roundtable with the Board of Education, and we'll finalize our roundtable with comments from the superintendent. So we will go ahead and get started with Hannah Philly. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Philly, and I was junior class president last year, and I feel like Ms. Powers and all the students around me really inspired me to continue just feeling enthusiasm and more passion for the school, and I really felt that they should be represented with really deep thought and care and passion, and I'm really, really happy to be here. And this week has been going really smoothly, I think, coming out of not being in school for so long. I've heard extremely positive reviews from everyone. Mr. Lyons and I were even just talking about it right now, about how impressed we've been with all the teachers, just hard work coming back, and the students' enthusiasm for being back. And we just started the Wellness Center. It is in Portable B, and we've already had so many people coming to it. It's open, I think, all hours of the day, and you don't even have to make an appointment. You can just go during class whenever you feel the need to just relax. We have a couple certified therapists in there as well, and it's just developing really, really beautifully. And we've been club fair planning all week long, and we have more clubs this year than we ever have before, which is really, really impressive, and I'm planning on joining several of them. And I think there's actually 35 clubs overall, and sports have been starting back up again, and we have games going, and just positive reviews all around. So it's going to be a really fantastic year, I think.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Bill Schreier from the Association of Carmel Teachers. Welcome, Bill, in the flesh.
Sorry.
Good evening. It's good to be back in person. I'm Bill Schreier, President of the Association of Carmel Teachers. I want to echo what Hannah just said about the start of school. I'm also a teacher at the high school, for those of you that know, and it's been an amazing start. I really want to thank Lee Camera and Aubrey Powers for coming up with a really, really creative way of starting the school year, and for Principal Lyons to support that. And it has really felt like we're attending to the students' well-being first, rather than just starting off with classes. And the vibe up there is fantastic. welcome Hannah. You said you were going to join a club. Mock trial wouldn't be one of those, would it? I want to say, as Hannah's former teacher, unfortunately not your teacher this year, we are blessed to have you sitting here, ma'am.
Thank
so
you.
I'm looking
Appreciate
forward to that. And finally, in the news today, we know that the governor announced a mandatory vaccination program for teachers or weekly testing, and I want everyone to know that Association of Carmel Teachers fully supports that and pledge our support in implementing that in this district. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Bill. And I'll pass it off to Lisa from CSCA. Welcome.
Welcome back, everybody. It's good to see real faces, even if we have masks on.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot today. We have been so busy opening school on all the sites. I do want to thank the board and the administration for their support and everything that has been going on. I know all of the schools have been engaged in student wellness and really wrapping around all of the kids at every grade level, training classified staff as well as teachers for the first time that I'm aware of to work with students. So for the first time, classified staff attended professional development and are being trained in how to support students as they make this emotional transition. And I think that's important. We have students in our offices and all the time, and so having those skills is really good for instructional aides, secretaries, everyone. So I want to thank the administration for that. When I left the high school, it was so joyous. Tons of students had just gotten out of sports. The parking lot was full. Somebody was throwing a water polo ball up and down the parking lot, and it just felt so good to see everybody there really being kids again. And oh gosh, what a blessing. In terms of CSEA, I want to give a special shout out to a few people. Our registrars at all the levels, I don't think have ever worked so hard as they have since this began. And they have put in enormous number of hours. They're still putting in hours because so many kids left the district and are now coming back. And I really want to acknowledge everything that they've done, much of it on their own time. So shout out to them. We've opened schools, kids are back, teachers are back, and we are doing it short-staffed. So a shout out to everybody who's working extra, covering open positions, looking for subs. We don't know how many subs we have in the district. So anybody who knows anybody who might be looking for a job, we have openings. And that's all I have. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll turn it over for updates from the Board of Education. I'll go ahead and start with Seabury.
I don't have much to report out. I just got back from spending 3 glorious weeks with my family in Minnesota. Lots of swimming and fishing and game playing. It was fun. I did want to echo everyone else's comments that it's just been great to send 2 of my 3 kids off to school. My oldest is off to UCSB in about a month. But it's just great to have dinner conversation and talk about normal activities, which I so appreciate. I also am very grateful that my children are in this district. I spent time with 2 family members that are both teachers in different states. And the difference between the conversations that I had outlining the differences between how their superintendent and their principals are treating them in terms of safety is remarkable. I think we really have to be grateful, I know we all are, about how we're taking care of our staff and our teachers. And it was really very clear to me when I was talking to my 2 sister-in-laws about how they are not being supported in the same way. So congratulations to this district for making that a priority. But yeah, it's great to be back at school. I'm so happy to have dinner conversations that focus around normal activities, like, you know, what outfit am I going to wear tomorrow? So thanks.
Great, thank you. Carl?
Yeah, I don't have a lot here to add, although I must say it is somewhat unusual for me to see my friend Marvin Biasotti as the only member of the public at our meeting after working with him for 15, 20 years. Anyway, welcome Marvin, good to see you. I don't have a lot. I thought the back to school event was good for staff. And I thought the message was very good by the superintendent. So me too. I'm very excited for the kids, and it's just exciting. It really is, just to have them back and listen to the noise. That's it.
Thank you. Tess?
I just want to welcome Hannah. We're really happy to have you with us. And I wanted to echo what Carl said about the welcome back breakfast. You guys absolutely hit it out of the park. Bill, we missed you. But Mark did a great job in your spot. And then I recently talked to Kate Navila. I wanted to just thank him again for all the things he did this summer with the summer programs. And he said by far the highlight was his time out in Kashawa. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him and Lee for all her support. She was fantastic. So that's it for me.
Great, thank you. In my update this evening, I would just like to personally recognize 2 of Carmel's service organizations that do quite a bit to support our elementary schools at the beginning of every school year. The Carmel Mission Lions and the Carmel Host Lions, both organizations donated backpacks to those students who were in need and dropped them off over the last couple weeks. They dropped off 50 to Captain Cooper, 25 to River, and 5 backpacks filled with supplies and everything that students need to get the school year started off right to Tularcito. So I just want to thank our local service organizations for supporting Carmel Unified School District. And with that, I will pass it off to Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Sarah. So I've got a few thank yous tonight and then some important updates. I want to start by thanking the board for returning to full in-person board meetings. As we all know, we've asked our staff to be back full in person, and so I want to thank the board for their leadership in understanding how important it is for us to model that in our meetings. I additionally want to thank the tech department and our operations folks for setting up the room, getting us going with live stream and audio. So thank you all for your work this afternoon. I want to thank our association representatives for joining us. As we all know, our partnership's key to supporting our staff and students. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank Hannah for joining us. Shared with Hannah, she will continue to be the most important voice in the room. And I want to remind us all that we should listen closely to what she has to say and share about the work. She's a good reminder of why we're here every day. A few updates. So myself and many members of the staff have been able to get out to our campuses this week. I've been to each campus and happy to report that our students continue to look very happy, very engaged, just excited to be around their friends. Staff look refreshed. They are in the swing of things already. Masks do not seem to be an issue for students. It was interesting. I was out here at the middle school after school, and although masks are optional outside, 90% of the kids just left them on as they walked out of the classroom, and like them or not, they are adapting very well, and it is not stopping students or staff from our work with teaching and learning. And social distancing, I'm noticing, is still happening. Where it's appropriate, I'm seeing a lot of teachers take their classes outside. We're seeing increased cleaning and disinfecting, so those layered mitigation strategies, we are all hoping continue to work. A few more updates. As was mentioned earlier, our wellness centers are up and running, being utilized by our students. I was at the high school this week and got to see some strong arming of Mr. Lyons, as some of the staff and students are already pressuring him for a therapy dog next. So you open up that door a little bit, and next thing you know, it's like Christmas and everybody's asking John for a puppy. So it was an interesting conversation. I'm also happy to report to the board and the community that Craig and his team have been working hard and are finalizing our communication and community relations person, hopefully early next week. I have enjoyed continuing to meet with various stakeholders throughout the community. Had a great conversation with Marvin, I think, just last week, and just continue to be just thrilled at how many great people are in this community that want this school district to thrive. Got a chance to meet our Monterey County Office of Education Superintendent, Dr. Deneen Gus, and many wonderful members of her staff, and hear about how they support our schools and district. I enjoyed the Welcome Back breakfast as well. Got to see a lot of talented and dedicated teachers, support staff, and administrators, and I thought that was just a great morning. We also had a town hall on the additional health and safety measures that we have put in place surrounding our return to full in-person learning. So 3 topics that I just want to make sure we share with the community tonight, with more information coming. One is that we as a staff understand that many of the recent immunization laws have caused some stress for families. We apologize for that. But we have and will continue to always follow state laws and work to inform families on what they need to do to keep their students enrolled. Craig and his team were able to create a partnership with Safeway, and we're able to make those immunizations that parents may need easily accessible for students. And at this point, I believe we have nearly every student who had an immunization issue either back in school or well on their way to being there. As was mentioned earlier, by bill, we have a new public health order from Governor Newsom requiring all staff to be either vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. Huge thank you again to Craig Chavez and to Rick Lopez for their work on testing and vaccinations. They've been preparing for this. We weren't caught off guard. Craig's been eating, breathing, and sleeping COVID lately. And so we were all ready to started our PCR testing, I believe, yesterday for staff, and we're adding our rapid testing program as well, so that staff will have, that choose not to be vaccinated, will have routine access to that weekly testing. He's also partnered again with Safeway to get vaccines for both staff and students for COVID, as well as normal immunizations. I believe we're looking at Friday, August 20th as a tentative date for that first vaccination, but anyone who's going to need staff or student that wants to be vaccinated will have that partnership. A staff letter will go out tomorrow that details everything that came down from the governor's office today, as well as what our plans are to help them either get vaccinated or submit to that weekly testing. And an additional letter will be going out to parents and the community probably early next week with updated guidance on quarantines and isolations, and again, information on how students can access those rapid testings so that they can stay in school. So those are my updates. I know we've only been in school 3 days, but there's a lot going on already, and we are in full swing.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, moving on to agenda item 4. This is the consent calendar. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, and in order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together through the use of a consent calendar agenda. The consent agenda items are reserved for routine items that are deemed to be non-controversial and allow a governing board to save the bulk of its meeting time for subjects about which there is need for discussion and debate. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which the board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be considered by the board in one motion by roll call vote. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, the board will accept public comment now on these items, but there will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless any members of the board request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. So I'll ask the public and Marvin, basically, if there's any public comment on the consent calendar.
Seeing no comment.
Thank you. May I please receive a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll second.
Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nakbar.
Yes.
And I think that's it.
That's it. Moving on to agenda item 5. These are action, discussion, and information items. This evening, agenda item 5A is our 45-day budget update from Yvonne Perez. And I'll go ahead and ask the public if there's any questions or comments on agenda item 5A, which is the 45-day budget update.
Seeing no public comment.
Thank you. Welcome, Yvonne. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to be here. So the information used for developing the budget began in January. As you know, we did a governor's update, governor's January budget. The information is then revised in May, and if it is received in time, any changes from January to May are included in our July 1 budget. The information then changes again when the governor signs the state budget. And so we are required to provide a budget update to the board within 45 days of the governor signing the state budget. And so that's what I'm doing tonight. The final budget included good news for all districts, but some of the good news does not apply to a community funded district as described in the summary that I provided in your packet. For example, the 5.07% mega COLA that we've all been hearing about does not apply to community funded districts. So at the bottom of the summary page, which I think he's highlighting that there, I've provided just some key factors that I'm not going to go through every item there. But I will highlight a few things that affected the Carmel Unified School District. So the state took action at the last minute to lessen the impact schools anticipated may revise related to unemployment insurance. So there was a lot of lobbying that went on. It was going to be a huge hit to schools. And so they were successful in that, and the legislature did pass some legislation to lessen that blow. And so you'll see that in the budget. The CDE also posted our allocation to the ESSER 3 federal dollars, which amounts to $2.4 million. This should not be new. I have updated the board on this in the past with estimates that we had. And so I went ahead and included that impact in the budget reports that I have for you today. So if you'll go to the second attachment there, I'll just describe that very quickly. Page 1 provides a comparison of the adopted budget on July 1 and addresses the revisions after the state budget was enacted and the impact that it has on us. So the biggest impact that you're seeing there is that $2.4 million of federal dollars that I just talked about that we will add to the budget at first interim. We certainly will begin we have already began that process of starting to plan how we're going to spend those dollars, and the ESSER 3, unlike some of the other federal funds that came out over the last year, or that were allocated over the last year, requires us to produce a plan. And I think that's actually a good thing. The first page on this report is just a change in the revenues. So you'll see there that the revenues were updated. And so the biggest part of that, of course, is the 2.7. So what I had in summary on that first attachment is just now here in a Excel format. The page 2 and 3, so if you'll scroll down, that also shows the changes to the expenditures based on that. So, for example, we try to balance, and so we had an addition in special ed revenue, so we put that in the revenues, and we put the corresponding amount in expenditures. It doesn't mean we necessarily have a plan right now to spend that, but it is there if we need it for additional special ed purposes. So when you go to the bottom of page 3, you can see the total there of the expenditures. So overall, really good news on the 45-day update. And once again, we will update formally all of that information in the first interim in December. Do you have any questions?
I do not at this time, and for my fellow board members, this presentation is for information only this evening, so we're not voting on anything tonight. Well, thank you for the update, Yvonne, if there's no questions from the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very succinct.
Yes, and good news.
And I know you're sticking with us.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to agenda item 5A. This is 5B. Thank you. This is resolution number 21 through 29 to authorize the establishment of Fund 08, Student Activity Special Revenue Fund 08. And I'll go ahead and accept any public comment that Marvin may have on agenda item 5B.
Seeing none.
Okay. Can I
Go ahead. Yes,
Okay.
please go
Okay.
ahead. Thank you.
So this is a resolution based on a change in GASB statement, Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement 84 that governs governs governmental agencies. It was issued in 2017 and went into effect for the 2021 school year, so we need to establish this to close our books. It requires districts to report fiduciary activities, and in our case, that is related to our ASB accounts, or Associated Student Body accounts. So in order to do this, we need the board to formally pass a resolution saying that we can establish that fund in our financial system, and then it will get reported in our financial reports in our audited reports. So with that, I'm requesting approval to approve this resolution.
Great, thank you. May I please receive a motion to accept Resolution 21-29?
I'd like to make a motion to accept Resolution 21-29 to authorize the establishment of Fund 08, Student Activity Special Revenue Fund.
I'll second.
Board President Sarah Hines.
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur.
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nakbar.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'd just like to thank Yvonne for her work with the finances. When we looked through that numbers, we continue to be in very good financial standing. I know Steve does already have a plan for his $200,000 of money for special education, and the team is working really hard on that ESSER 3 money, 20% of which has to go to learning loss. So we'll be getting that information to you shortly.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yvonne.
Agenda item 6, we'll move through to agenda item 6A. This is future topics. Any board member may request that a matter within the jurisdiction of the board be placed on the agenda of a subsequent meeting. Additionally, pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, between meetings, members of the public may submit written requests that will come to the board and potentially be placed on the agenda of a subsequent meeting. So if there's any public comment on future topics, I'll go ahead and take that now.
See, no public comment.
And Tricia, is there anything that we should be aware of for future topics
No,
that you'd like
it's
to highlight?
It's basically the standard. This month was just business, and then we go into our normal future topics. And it's just a kind of a reminder for everyone of what we do annually, and if anyone adds anything to the agenda.
Great, thank you. And with that, I would like to thank everybody for being here this evening. That is the end of our agenda for this evening. It's wonderful to see everybody here. And we will see you in September. And I will consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you.